Okay, so first take your paper, fold this part up like this, fold this down like this, then this part is blank and you can glue this right into your notebook. Okay, so we're solving and graphing inverses. We already did graphing before, but now we're going to do solving. And we're going to find the graph and inverse of these three problems, and then when we open up we have it here. So we're going to start off with our steps. First we're going to replace f of x with y, which we know y is the same as f of x. Then we're going to switch x and y. Then we're going to solve for y. We're going to get y equals, because we like equations and y equals. And then we're going to rewrite and use f inverse of x for y. Alright, so let's see how this works. So really, the big part of it is this step here. This is where we do all the work. The rest of it is just switching letters. So first, this is y. So I'm going to rewrite this down here, and I'm going to switch the x and y. So the y becomes an x, and the x becomes a y. So we did step one, I put the y in, I switched the x and y here. Now I want to solve for this. So I want to get this one all by itself. So I have to get rid of the square root first. So I'm going to move a square root by squaring both sides. I'm going to use another color. I'm going to square this side, and I'm going to square this side. X squared is here. The square root and the squared, those cancel each other out, leaving me with just y plus 3. Then I want to get the y by itself, so I'm going to minus 3. And I'm going to get x squared minus 3 equals y. Now I'm ready to rewrite it here. The y becomes the inverse function, and I write the rest of it, x squared minus 3. Now on this first one, domain and range of the first one. On the domain, what numbers can I put in for x? Well, the inside of a square root cannot be negative. So I want where the inside is bigger than 0. Because I can't take the square root of a negative number. So I want the inside to be bigger than 0. So if I solve this little problem, I get that x must be bigger than negative 3. Or I could write that as negative 3 to infinity. And this has to be a curved here. Sorry, that has to be a curved. And on a square root, I could take the square root of something and get 0, but I could never take the square root of something and get a negative number. So y is going to be greater than 0. When I do the inverse, this is a quadratic, so we know it's going to be a parabola, and it just reverses the domain and range from up here. We learned that before. So here the range is going to be negative 3 to infinity, and the domain is going to be 0 to infinity. Now you can go through and graph both of these. If you need to, make a little table like we did before. This one's going to give me, I'm just going to real quickly graph these. This one's going to look like this, and this one's going to look like this. This one, I don't have both sides of the parabola for this one because, look, my domain is only from 0 to infinity, so I just get half of it. All right, let's do the next one. So let's do our steps again. Replace f of x with y. Okay, I did that. Now swap the x and y. This becomes x. This becomes y. Now I'm going to solve for y. To get the y alone, what do I need to do first? I need to do plus 3 on both sides. So this cancels, so I have x plus 3 equals 2y. Then how do I get the y by itself? Divide by 2. So I get x plus 3 over 2 is y, and I'm going to put it down here. Or I could write this as 1/2 x plus 3/2 by doing the 2 with that part and the 2 with this part. This one's easier for me to graph as a line. This is a line, so what's the domain and range of a line? Well, that's all real numbers. So down here, it's going to still be all real numbers because it's a line. Intercept of -3, 1, 2, 3. Slope of 2, rise 2, run 1. Rise 2, run 1, so this one looks like this. This one, intercept of 3/2, so that's 1.5. Slope of 1/2, that's rise 1, run 2. Rise 1, run 2. Oop, I did the slope of this one wrong. Should have been a slope of 2. Rise 2, run 1. I was like, why do my lines not look right? This one here, sorry, this line is wrong. It should go like this. It should go like that. And this one goes like this. Sorry about that. This line right here is wrong. Slope of 2. Rise 2, run 1. And our last one, we're going to do our steps here. So this one is a rational function like we just studied. Replace this with y. Now switch the x and y. This becomes x. These become y. Now to solve for y, the first thing I have to do is cross multiply. So I've got x times this bottom equals this. And I have to distribute this. So I get 4xy plus 4x equals 4y minus 7. Now the secret is get y's on one side. So here, see, here's a y and here's a y. I want these y's on one side together. This one and this one on one side. So I'm going to minus 4y to get this guy to go over there. So I've got this 4xy, then I'm going to minus 4y, so this one goes over there. And then I want this guy to go over there, so I'm going to minus 4x to get this guy to go over there. Now on these, I can factor out a y. Now I've got the y by itself. I can just divide by this thing. So these cancel and I have y equals this. So this now goes here. Negative 4x minus 7 over 4x minus 4. On here we know the range, we know the domain is where the bottom is not equal to 0. So I set the bottom equal to 0, minus 4, 4x equals negative 4. So x is not equal to negative 1. And the range is all real numbers. And then down here I know these are going to be swapped. So this is x not equal to negative 1 and all real numbers. And then you can go in there from what we knew before. This is going to be, nothing's going to cancel. This is my vertical asymptote at negative 1. This is a each dark chocolate. And so I divide my coefficients, which is 1. So horizontal asymptote at 1. I have x-intercept is going to be where y equals 0, so that's the top, so I get 7 over 4. And my y-intercept is where x is 0, so I get negative 7 over 4. So those are both just slightly less than 2, so it's like right here and right here. So this one looks like this. And this one's going to be on this side. Graphing these are not that important. We're not going to be graphing any rationals on the test, but you will have to do these parts right here on the homework and the test.